Hello, everyone, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Better the Pond Pondcast, where we talk to amazing people doing incredible things that lead the charge of generosity. My name is Warren Berry, and I'm your host and the founder of Instinctive Solutions, where we believe that everyone is an odd duck, but that's what makes them awesome. Today, our guest is Joop Stroes. From across the pond in North Holland, Joop has helped people better the pond not only in his own backyard, but in South Africa and into the Philippines. A self-proclaimed misfit, he sees the strengths of people, not their weaknesses or their label of dysfunction. Joop understands that it costs nothing to be kind and having gratitude for what we already have. He is always creating ripples in the pond, and I'm very excited to have him as a guest on my podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Joop Stroes. Joop Stroes, we just had this conversation. Hopefully we got your name right. I want to thank you ever so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be a guest on my Better the Pond podcast. It is absolutely great to have you.
Well, you're welcome, Warden, and it's a pleasure to be your guest. So thank you for inviting me.
What got you from being a gosling to
Yeah,
leaving the nest
yeah.
to where you are today? So what is your backstory? I want to know all about you, Joop.
Well, I'm 54 years old. I'm married to a lovely wife. I have three kids, two boys and a girl. The oldest boy is 19. I have a daughter of 17 and a son of 14 years old. And actually, I always worked for international companies till 8 years ago, when I started when I took the decision to start to work for myself as a solo entrepreneur. At that time, my youngest son was diagnosed with ADHD.
I'm going to take you back, Joop. I'm going to pull you back right to
Okay.
being a gosling. I'm going
Okay.
to. Where did you start from? Were you born in North Holland? Were you born in the Netherlands?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in the city I live called Hoofddorp,
Hmm.
and
And where is that located? Just so.
it's close to Amsterdam and Skip Amsterdam Airport.
Okay.
So it's just 10 miles from Amsterdam Airport.
Okay.
So we're living in the west of Holland,
Hmm.
and in Holland and the Netherlands is the same, but we also have two provinces in the Netherlands called North Holland and South Holland. And I'm living in North Holland.
Okay. So tell me a bit about. Take me back to when you were a kid, when you were a gosling in North Holland, growing up.
Yeah, well, I never left Hoofddorp in that sense. I always lived there now for 54 years, and I have three brothers. My parents were both teachers at elementary school. I went to middle school um, in a small town just 5 miles from here.
Hmm.
And the educational system in the Netherlands is different than in the US and Canada. The educational system is there on different levels of education. While I believe in the US and Canada, you go to middle school, which is um, all the same level, and after that you can specialize to high school or university. And the middle school system in the Netherlands is, yeah, they have four different levels. So for yeah, uh, the the less smarter kids and the smarter kids, and so the the lower educational system schools are from, let's say, 12 to 16 years old, and then one school from till 17, and then till 18, one school system, and after that you go to college or university. So that's slightly different than in North America.
Oh, it's very different from North America.
Yeah.
So at what grade or at what level do you basically get assessed to find out where you go? Is it a matter of a testing system that creates that? Is it a matter of do you choose? How does that work?
Yeah, well, you have these career assessments at that time, because there are many now different kind of career assessments. But the career assessments I remember, you had to choose between four careers. You have to pick one, and if I pick the one in the right upper corner, I go from there to the next four careers. And then at the end, something came out, and actually, I've always ended up in careers like journalist or writer, or a profession in health and care, like a nurse or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was always and still am socially engaged. Yeah, I care a lot about others, sometimes more about others than about myself. But that was always the red line in my life. Um, and after middle school, um, I go to more um, how do I say that, um, more specialized school, to which was about retail and trade. So you can do something in marketing or sales, or more commercial side. But actually, I had no idea what I wanted, and what I wanted to do with that study.
So let's take you back a little bit here, Joop. And when you were younger and you were having to make these decisions of where you wanted
Yeah.
to go in your life at a young age, right? Did you have any kind of indication or any kind of path of what you wanted or where you wanted to
No,
go?
no,
None
no,
whatsoever.
no. When I remember when I was in middle school at first grade, so I was 12, 13 years old then. I was in a work group at school that was writing letters on behalf of Amnesty International to prisoners, and whatever, while my classmates were dealing with scooters and yeah, all that kind of stuff. Um, and I remember that I was not. Um, I felt like a misfit in that
Hmm.
sense. You know, I didn't belong to a group or whatever. Yeah, I was always busy with other people. Like I said, I was um, that had my interest. That was what kept me busy and engaged. And so I didn't really have connection with my classmates, and um, so the choice for going to this commercial school
Hmm.
was actually based on advice from my parents, because I could do more with that type of education than pure administrative. So something like bookkeeping or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so based on that, I make the choice to go that direction. But um, I've nothing with sales. I'm not um, like my brother. He is very driven by competition. He always wants to be the best, and he always wants to have the most sales, because he's an account manager at the copier manufacturer.
Hmm.
I don't care about that. But that's not me. So looking back, it was a very well, not a weird choice, but not based on something that really fits me.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was thinking, working in care, in health, uh, I was afraid that everything what happened at work, I would take it back home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I did decide not to do something like that, because I thought um, I got personally too much involved. And that, yeah,
And how old were you at that time?
yeah, 17, 18, 19.
Okay.
So, yeah, uh, looking back and knowing what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I would have done things differently, I guess, because um, I know that um, that kind of that part of who I am um, gives me so much satisfaction and is so much rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, and knowing now what my natural abilities are, my experience, yeah, um, I think I could have contributed more or different,
Mm-hmm.
at least different than what I've done so far.
So let me ask you this question then, Joop. Like, what would you have done differently? What path would have you have taken learning what you know now?
Well, I would have trusted more, um, and used more my natural abilities, and looking more at my um, personality, um, and doing more the things that makes me really happy.
So, do you think, then looking back, and I'm just speculating here, because you said earlier that your parents were both teachers.
Yeah.
Do you think that your decision that you made was based more on what they wanted versus what you wanted?
Um, yes, but also that it's not really that doing what they wanted, but doing what they think was the best for me. And um, you know, we are both Colby consultants,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at that part, um, you know, also in relation to ADHD, uh, I often heard that I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm not good at it, I'm not good at that. But um, that were actually talents too, and that I was more focusing and get distracted by what people telling me what where I'm not good at, and I know I think now that it's because they look at it from their own natural abilities, from their
Mm-hmm.
point of view. Um, uh, and that is um, a pity that we look at each other in that way, because we all can contribute. We all can add something to the table, which make not only ourselves grow, but also help each other, help the other person to grow.
Absolutely. And I'm going to bring you up to that because I think that kind of that bit of that story I really want to hear because you
Mhm.
talked early a little bit earlier about your son and ADHD and that's sort of, tying more into what's going on presently.
Yeah.
I'm gonna still pull you back a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No
So
problem.
yeah, because I think this is fascinating because it's interesting when you see some of these things when you're looking back, you can see some of these things line up to where you are
Yeah.
today, right?
Yeah.
So so going back when you were in the healthcare aspect, you said you really kind of didn't want to do that because you weren't sure, because you didn't want to take all that home. So
No.
here you are, 17, 18, 19 years old. So tell me about your time from there and then bring me up to today, because then we'll bring it back into the Colby piece which you just mentioned, and how you
Hmm.
helped your son. So early
Well,
early 20s.
yeah. Well, I started to work after I finished this school, and I worked first. My first job was at a local department store, um, where the planning was to become a sales manager, um, running my own departments, and in somehow it was some way it was fun. Um, I was supervising a small team. It were all young girls, women. Um, but what I didn't like about it, um, they were the small talk they were talking about on Monday. Uh, and with all respect, but it was not something I would make me feel happy. It didn't motivate me. Yeah, the topics were not always of my interest. So I moved on, and I worked. I started to work at a Honda car dealer at administration because I liked numbers.
Hmm.
Um, but working there, I need action. I need people around me, and actually, I was there with another guy, and we could get along very well. Uh, but it wasn't exciting enough for me. And I, yeah, for since I was since my childhood, I had a passion for aviation.
Hmm.
So at one point, I sent an open application to Fokker Aircraft in the early 90s, late 80s. And as usual, at that time, I got a letter back. Thank you for your interest in our company. Don't contact us, we contact you when we have a job. But I wanted to work for Fokker. So every 3 weeks, I called them. Do you have a job already? Till after 9 months, they called me. Are you still interested? I said, I'm on my way. So um, I had an interview and I got hired, and I worked on the final assembly line of the Fokker 50 turboprop aircraft for 50 passengers. And there, everything came together. I had my education, which I could use. I had my passion, my interest. The motivation was definitely there, but also my talents, my cognitive talents. I'm a 4295. For those who doesn't know, I'm a 9 in quick start, which means I need to create some urgency for myself to take action. Well, on the final assembly line,
Yeah.
there
So
was
I'm gonna stop you there for just 1 second, just so that
yeah,
people don't get confused. And
yeah,
I just had Amy Brewski, who is the president of Colby, on my podcast,
yeah.
which will be was going to be released soon. So this will actually follow that. So this
Okay,
will be fascinating. So, but just just for my listeners, so we don't get them confused, and we talk
yeah,
about we brought up conation, which
yeah,
is the instinctive part of our minds, and it's how we take action, how we problem solve.
yeah,
So just give me just the not me, I guess my listeners, a little bit of synopsis. When you say about 4295,
yeah.
what does that mean about you?
Okay. Well, In Colby, there are 4 action modes. The first one is Fact Finder. It tells you how you gather and share information naturally, what you need, and not what you want, but what you need.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is Follow Through, how you organize. The third one is Quick Start. It tells you how you deal with risk and uncertainty. And the fourth one is Implementer. It tells you how you deal with space and tangibles. Well, I'm a 9 in Quick Start. I initiate taking action in Quick Start. I always need this sense of urgency before I start to take action. People who don't know that might say, well, you are not motivated because I need to do things at the last moment.
Mm-hmm.
And although I want, I would like to start earlier because it happens very often that I say, okay, this is a last minute action again. Next time I start earlier, it will be very difficult for me because I need to have this sense of urgency before I take action. Well, going back to Fokker, on the final assembly line, there was always this sense of urgency because we had to work with time frames. Every 11 days, the aircraft was moved to the next station on the assembly line, and then a certain amount of parts should be built in. So the urgency was always there. Um, um, with my 2 in follow through, I could thrive because by nature I am dealing with tasks as they arise. I don't need to follow a plan. I can't work very organized and structured. So and at the assembly line again, it was always then I need to take care of this part, and 10 minutes later I need to take care of that part. There was no day was the same. It was always you never knew what was going to happen when you entered the building.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that one day a colleague said, Joop, I don't understand you. You are always smiling and happy and whistling while everybody else here is cursing and stressed and whatever. Now I know why, because everything came together there. My knowledge, my experience, my motivation, my attitude, and my talents. And it was one of the best jobs I had in my career, where I was in my element, where I was happy, and which made me also very productive.
So I find this fascinating because, and just because of my knowledge as well that we share, right? And you had your 4 in fact finder, which means you don't need a lot of information. You just need
No,
just enough to move forward, right?
yeah,
You deal with situations as they arise. There's no plan, so you people would see you possibly as unorganized, but you would just adjust as you needed to.
yeah,
Right? You did everything at the last minute, so there was a sense of urgency where you could just kind of basically kind of fly by the seat of your pants and just jump
yeah,
in and go, right,
yeah,
and innovate. And then you got to actually physically work with your hands and physically see and build something that was that's something that was tangible.
yeah, yeah,
So in that, and so then and here you are, just you're reacting, responding what's in front of you, and other people are miserable. And so again, that would kind of, what I'm hearing from you is that would almost, again, that kind of makes you like the misfit or the odd duck. Here you are, you're actually in your element and having a great time, and they're looking at you going, why are you so happy?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But that is what I referred to earlier. People tend um, to look at you, and maybe sometimes it feel like judging you
Mhm.
from their own perspective. And I think as parents we make that mistake as well, that when we um, tell our kids to do something, that we say them do it this way because that's the best way to do. But yeah, that's the wrong mindset because we all have our own way, and sometimes we need to we think I think we have to look how we can facilitate our kids in doing their thing in their own way.
Mhm.
um, like when studying, yeah, you have to prepare for the test. My daughter, she's a 10 in follow through. um, she needs a plan. She is very organized. she's totally opposite than me. Eh?
Mhm.
So when uh, Corona, the pandemic started and the schools were closed, she got stressed because there was no plan anymore. There was nothing she could rely on and could hold on as a reference. For me, actually, nothing changed
Mhm.
in that sense. And what you, I think that is the good part about this pandemic, for instance, that you see a lot of creativity in the beginning. People can't use anymore what they learned. They can't stick to the plan because there is no plan. So they have to be creative in their own way. And you saw great initiatives coming up on how to be able to continue with your business or how you can continue with school or whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah, that is, I think, the great part about Colby, but that when you learn to trust on your instincts, and if you are able to use them, you can achieve so much more than focusing on only what you've been taught.
Mhm. Absolutely. If you take, you can take what you've been taught and what you've learned and then apply it by
Yeah,
using your instincts and then
yeah,
doing it your
yeah,
way. And I agree with you. I think we've seen, especially with the pandemic, we've seen some people really thrive and going, hey, you know what? I mean, it's an unfortunate circumstance, but they're actually having a great time doing it. But they're saying
yeah,
the walls are off. I get to create.
yeah,
I can innovate new ways of doing things that I never
yeah,
would have done before. And
yeah,
this is fantastic. And then there's other
yeah,
people that going, oh my, I'm so stressed. Like, what do I do next? And I don't have a plan. And what's going
yeah,
to happen next? And
yeah,
they're
yeah,
getting all stressed in the same situation.
yeah,
Right? We
yeah,
may have the same information, but we're responding and reacting in a completely different fashion.
yeah, 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 and
So
that's great to see.
yes. So, I'm gonna kind of shift this just a little bit here, because you said your daughter is a 10 in follow through.
Yeah,
That's the first one I've heard. My daughter is a 1 in follow through, so she's the complete opposite.
yeah,
Um, but so then you said earlier about your son being diagnosed with ADHD, and can you
yeah.
maybe weave that in?
Well, that's funny because he is an 8 in implementer and a 7 in quick start.
Mm,
So um, that's really a profile what you often see with people with ADHD.
what is his follow through, Joop?
Let me check. Hold on. I'm gonna look that up for you. Now I have to take my classes, so hold on. Uh, just a second. My son, I think yeah, he is a 3 in fact finder, a 1 in follow through, an 8 in quick start, and a 9 in implementer.
My father was the my father is a not was a 9 an implementer, and my son is a 9 an implementer. So there's the third one that I've met.
Yeah,
So 3, 1, 8, 9, fascinating.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know that is. I remember when he was in elementary school. Um, kids with ADHD, they always tell these kids that you can't sit still and you can't pay attention and whatever. But now looking at his implementer, yeah, I understand why. Because he needs to move around. He can't sit still all day. School is a punishment in that sense for him.
Mhm.
And if you as a teacher focus all day long to tell that kid that he has to sit still, um, first of all, you're not going to win it. as a teacher because they won't sit still. Um, you can better look in to find a way how you can facilitate that he can um, use this energy and this talent.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember that when he went to third grade, I went to his teacher at the beginning of the year and told her, listen, my son, he has ADHD. And she responded, yeah, we'll see. Um, and every week, my son came home from school crying, the teacher is mad at me. I said, well, why is she mad at you? Yeah, because I don't understand it. I said, well, that's not a reason to be mad at you. So I went to school and asked her, my son Ruben is coming home from school telling me this story. Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct. And then I said, well, what did I tell you at the beginning of the school year? And what did you do to help him? Yeah, he just has to listen. He just has to sit still. He just has to focus. Yeah, I said, you have brown eyes. I can tell you that I want you to have blue eyes, but that's not going to happen either. So, um, what can you do to help him? Yeah, he just has to focus and to pay more attention. I said, well, that's not going to work. So it was a long and lost year at the end.
Hmm.
Um, 2 years later, he got two teachers in the fifth grade, and well, they were from a different kind. I told them the same story, and that he needs some exercise. Though, so every once in a while, they said to Ruben, go to this and this teacher, get a pair of scissors, or run around on the schoolyard, whatever, and then come back and then continue working. And that worked much better.
Mhm.
His results went up, and he was so much happier. And um, what I wanted to say, what in ADHD are is often um, judged as negative, is in the Colby something positive.
Mhm.
Yeah, the nine in implementer, it's his strengths. He
Mhm.
needs to show stuff, and sustainable and quality is important for him. Um, so facilitate in such a way at schools um, that all kids, also those with a label, have equal chances
Mhm.
and are able to to show what their natural abilities are and learn them how to apply them. Learn to develop their talents instead of just um, learning skills, because I think schools are way too much focused on only gaining knowledge and learning skills.
Mhm. So do you think, Joop, that when he was growing up and going through that period, would it have been perceived that because he wouldn't learn the teacher's way, that he was basically then he wasn't that intelligent? Would
No,
it have been
definitely.
yeah, isn't that and I find that fascinating, and I can appreciate some of that, and that in growing up and with my mo and how I operate was the same feeling of I wasn't that intelligent. It had and the funny thing has nothing to do with intelligence, like
No,
absolutely
no,
nothing to do with it.
no.
And so here he would have been labeled as a child with an ADHD, so he's labeled with a dysfunction when
Hmm.
when the truth is that's actually his strengths. That's actually what
Yes.
makes him awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but he wasn't given the opportunity to be able to flourish within that.
No, no, exactly. And what you see is, you were talking about um, that they tend to say they are less intelligent. That's exactly what happened, because at the end of elementary school, they you get a school advice for the level of education you should go on to middle school,
Hmm.
and he was um, ranked for going to the lowest type of education. And he's now at a middle school where they have a special um, department in the school where they have a different approach. They have a more formative way of teaching. So looking at the child's needs to learn to reach those goals in education, instead of saying this is the methodology we use, take it or leave it.
Mhm.
Eh? And there at every subject you do it on your own level. So Dutch he does it maybe on a lower level, but math, for instance, he's doing it on a higher level, way higher than they judged him at elementary school.
Mhm.
Um, and it's funny because in second grade of elementary school, he was in the test. Um, he was always very good in the beginning. Actually, that good that actually they couldn't measure it, how good he was. Um, it's similar to the SAT test in North America,
Okay.
but for the system test, it always went well. But the SAT test, it was always poor at some point.
Mhm.
Um, so I was wondering how that could happen. So when he was in fifth grade, I asked the teacher, give me an old SAT test because I want to understand his way of thinking, how we approach the test. And there was a picture of um, a plate with 12 pieces of cheese and four mice. And then that's in the test was actually to measure if you know the tables, if you know uh, um, if you know what 4 times 3 is.
Mhm.
So, but Ruben said, yeah, but who says that they all get an equal amount of cheese? So, of course, it's not what they asked for, but it's also not wrong. It actually shows I think he's very smart and he can think out of the box.
Right.
But um, again, that's not the answer they're looking for.
Right.
So they say the answer is wrong. Um, and if you look at that, I think if if they tell you yet that is wrong or you don't understand it, on the long term, I think it will cause harm to the self-esteem of kids. They get demotivated. They're gonna perform under their own level. They're gonna underperform. They end up in jobs which where they may not be happy, and I think we lose so much uh, talents, talented people, and we lose so much potential um, by this education system because yeah, we have to understand that we all can contribute to make it a better world, to grow and to complement each other instead of looking at dysfunctions or yeah, because what is a dysfunction?
Mhm.
Compared to you, I have a dysfunction in gathering information, eh, but the other way around, the same. But if you look at it as being talents and how we can complement each other and what it can bring if we work together, we can do so much more.
Hmm. Absolutely, and I agree with you wholeheartedly on that statement. Um, and so I'm gonna bring this up a little bit further, and this might tie in. Is what are you doing today, Joop? And is it the exact is it are you doing this same kind of work now? What you're talking about with your son, and you can understand your daughter. Are you doing that with adults now in your present life?
Yeah. I work now as a coach and business coach, I help teenagers with discovering their strengths and how to use that at school. Um, that is not just there is not only one way to achieve your goals. And with adults, I help people, yeah, also discovering their strengths, help them find a job. Is it finding a job to pay the bills, or do you want to build a sustainable career
Hmm.
using your talents? And I use it also for teams to optimize team synergy and improve communication. And every time when I go through the results with my clients, um, it's so funny and also rewarding because people actually, I think we don't tell people something new when we go through the results, but it's more the confirmation
Hmm.
of what they may know already deep down inside, but it explains why they act the way they act and what is causing stress, and that we can help them how to avoid or to minimize this stress, and that it in relationships, in work, it will help you to in job to get more job satisfaction, and helps you to be more productive. And yeah, when you use it in a team, that you can check, um, well, maybe we should barter tasks or delegate it. So again, how we can complement each other and bring the best um, in each other and ourselves.
Hmm. Kind of like going back to when you were saying of working with the airline company. You know, you were in a role that totally fit who you were
Yeah,
from a strengths perspective, and
yeah,
because of that, you found joy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you get a chance to do that for others. So I'm going to shift gears here a little bit, and you had led into this earlier on the podcast, right? So I believe that we're all odd ducks. I believe
yeah.
that we're all misfits, and again, you led this into this earlier, but tell me about a time when you didn't fit in, where you were different, and that can be a positive or negative scenario, right? And what have you done differently to stand out, and what makes you awesome? What makes you different?
Um, well, um, about 10, 11 years ago, my mother-in-law passed away, and my wife and her sister, they wanted to do something with the clothes of my mother-in-law. And KLM, the company my wife is working for, the Dutch airline, they have an organization called Wings of Support. It's a volunteer organization of cabin crew and cockpit crew who support projects of Wings of Support. So that could be a shelter or, anything like that.
Hmm.
So instead of going to the beach in Cape Town, you go to the, how do you say, to the slums of Cape Town and support projects there.
Mm.
So my wife went with a couple of suitcases to, I think it was Johannesburg, to one of those areas in Johannesburg where they help people with clothing, food, yeah, some NGOs. And I always had something like, I want to do something like that too.
Hmm.
And then my wife came home one day and they said, well, Wings of Support, they're going to Manila in January because there is a shelter there and they want to organize a children marathon. So not the full marathon of 42 kilometers, but shorter distances for different type of age. And some of her colleagues already signed up, and I said, I want to join. I want to go with them. And yeah, it's funny because it's this month, next week. It's 10 years ago I went there for the first time, and we went to Manila for this to help with the organization for the marathon, and we flew out on a Thursday morning. Friday and Saturday we were yeah uh, organizing the last things which need to be done for the event. On Sunday was the marathon. 2,000 children attended the marathon, which was huge because sports in the Philippines is not really a big thing.
Mhm.
Besides, they had to close down some roads. The military got involved, the police to make it a safe event. Um, we had to wake up at 4 in the morning, and we have to go to the local gym, and where all the children gathered. And I think at 5 a.m. the first group chart started, and at 7 a.m. The last group, because otherwise it would be too hot if you started later. Um, yeah, and it was such an amazing event. And what I remember the most is when I got there the first time. The children, they are all children with a background of sexual abuse, no parents anymore, or the father in jail and the mother has physical problems or is in prostitution, um, whatever. All very sad, heartbreaking stories. And you know every time I go there, I bring a suitcase full of clothes and school stuff. But what I find the most touching and also rewarding is the time you can spend with the children. Uh, just be there with them, giving them love and attention. Um, that is what they need so much. I remember the first time after breakfast, I got there and we went to the children, and I think the boy was 2 years old. He raised his hands, his arms, and he wants me to lift him up. So I lift him up and walked around with him, and we sat on a couch. And for 1.5 hours, he sat like a monkey on my couch, his arms around my neck. Um, and what yeah, that was such an amazing experience because yeah, like I said, that maybe um, was the result from the career assessment when I was young, that it showed my direction towards care and my social engagement. That is what really um, made me happy. And being there and in my work as coach, everything falls into place. I can be totally myself. My I can use my skills, my personality, my talents, because yeah, I always you never know what you can expect there. It's always different. So that makes it so special.
And you'd let in earlier, Joop, about being as a kid, where all the other kids in school were out on, they were on their scooters and they were out playing and they're doing their things, and here you were writing letters to Amnesty International.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what made you the odd duck. And yet I listened to your story, and here you are as a young child writing stories, writing, letters to Amnesty International. And here you are, how many years later,
Yeah.
helping out children in the Philippines.
Yeah.
You're kind of doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's that part that I find it fascinating that here you are, you were the odd duck, you were the misfit, for how
Hmm.
you that's how you felt when you were young,
Yeah.
and you've taken that and spun that into something amazing to help others.
Yeah, because and that just comes now to my mind. Um, People um, tend to label each other, or they are at focus on expected behavior. As a teenager, you should you should do like this or that, or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and I never felt like that. I didn't have anything with scooters technology. I don't care about it as long as it works. Um, I have two left hands. I'm not handy at all. But how an aircraft works, I find it fascinating.
Hmm.
Um, but I had never had the intention or the feeling that I want to construct myself, or something like that. But um, what you said about Amnesty International and there in the Philippines, um, I feel like that is really me, and it makes me so happy. And I remember there when I was there the first time, I said to the owner of the shelter, I will never forget this anymore. And then he said, yeah, but don't forget that these kids won't forget you anymore either. That someone from Holland came especially for them. And now 10 years later, with many of them, I'm still in touch via Facebook and other social media. And sometimes they chat me, hey, Joop, when do you come again? Well, there's only one that has to ask, and I'm at the airport. um, and it doesn't cost you anything to, of course, the tickets, but um, you you all you can give is your time, um, and your love and care for them. But that means so much to me. I Every time when I leave there, I get letters and drawings from the children, and you don't want to know how many letters I have where they write, thank you for being a father to me for 1 week. um yeah, um there is nothing what can be more, give you much more joy than that, that they can buy me a watch as a thank you or whatever. But those kind of letters, and drawings, they're priceless.
And yeah, and which leads me into what I was just thinking of to sort of summarize that is it doesn't cost anything to be kind.
No, no, exactly.
Yeah. So what else are you doing? You told me, when I talk about the whole aspect of this whole pondcast is better the pond. So we know you're bettering the pond. You better the pond. You're with your wife as well in South Africa in Johannesburg,
Hmm.
with Wings of Hope program. You've been 10 years. You've been going to the Philippines to help children in the children's shelter and all the wonderful things that you've done there. And what else are you doing to better the pond, Hope?
Well, since 5 years, I'm a volunteer at the hospice for terminal ill people. I'm work there as a caregiver, so that includes, yeah, just talking to people, holding their hand if they are afraid or anxious, or washing them before they go to bed. Yeah, anything, and that is something. Yeah, that's at the other end of the life cycle.
Mhm.
The Philippines are very young children, but at the hospice, and there, um, uh, yeah, it's funny because it crossed my mind a lot. when we all get when we get children in the beginning, the first few years, all we can do is give them our love and attention and care for them.
Mm-hmm.
um, and that is enough, uh, basically.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then they go to school, and then they especially when they are uh, becoming teenagers, status become more important. They want to have the latest fashion, they want an iPhone, they want an Xbox, a PlayStation, whatever. And also when we're adults, when I have a new car, you want a new car. It's more about the outside. It's about status. It's about money, a big house, whatever. But then when at the end of our life, and I see it in the hospice, it goes back to um, giving love and taking care of. That's all what people want and all what people need. You know, whether you have a million or your bank account, or you are as broke as can be, we all go at the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, um, of course, I understand the process, um, but I wonder myself, what happens in between that all the other stuff, especially the materialistic stuff, becomes so much more important. You see it now with the pandemic, especially in the beginning. Um, People start to take care of each other again. They say to the neighbors, do I have to get some groceries for you, or whatever. That I noticed that was very strong in Holland. I don't know how it's somewhere else, but I think we should do that more often.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, See if you can help someone, uh, looking for people who are in need, or those who are having difficulties already, and for them it's getting worse now in these kind of situations.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, and it's so easy to do. It doesn't cost you anything, maybe a little bit of your time. Um, but I think, yeah, we can do so much more to make it a better place.
Absolutely, and as I said earlier, it costs nothing to be kind,
No.
and it's interesting to listen to your story because it's it really comes full circle, right? At the
Yeah.
beginning of life, it's love, care, and attention. At the end of life, it's love, care, and attention,
Yeah.
and right, and there's all the stuff that happens in the middle, but we
Yeah.
start and finish the same way. So looking back and looking forward, and I want you to think about your biggest lesson learned. Now here you are, the wise sage on the pond. You have your crystal ball. What is, from what you've learned in life, paint me a picture. What does your golden pond look like? Just a little quick prediction of the future.
um, well, I what I learned, especially in the Philippines, um, and I've been to the slums of Manila, where 15,000 people lived on top of the waste of the Manila,
Mhm.
of the city. People there had literally nothing. They have no electricity, no running water. But what strikes me every time when I'm there, people there are happy with what they have, which is nothing.
Mhm.
And we in the Western world are not happy about what we don't have. And what I would wish for myself and for everybody is that we learn to be more happy with what we have.
Mm.
Um, um, to be grateful for the small things in life, a little bit more looking after each other. If we can change our mindset a bit on that, that it's not always about us, about me. We can make big changes.
We can make the world a better place.
Yeah.
So thank you, Joop, for your time today. Thank you for your stories. And I personally want to sincerely thank you for everything that you're doing to better the pond. You're taking action, you're making things happen, you're helping not only kids from the Philippines, but there's adults and teams and everyone around you. Obviously, you touch a lot of people in your life.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for taking your gifts and putting that out into the world, because I mean, it does make a difference.
Yeah.
So if my listeners want to find you, Joop, where do we find you?
You can find me on different social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. My website, I'm working on a new website right now as we speak, which will be in English as well. So everybody could reach out to me if they want to. Do you want me to share my usernames for social media or?
Yeah, because we're going to do this basically on an audio track as well as video. So, and then I will also add that into the notes.
Okay.
So anybody who's listening now, what's the easiest and best way to track you down? How do we find you?
Well, you can go to my website, which is called www.empathyplus, and I will spell that for you. It's EMPATHIEPLUS.nl. On Facebook, I have my own page, which is also called Empathy Plus. So EMPATHIEPLUS. On Instagram, also Empathy Plus. On LinkedIn, you can find me under my own name, Joop Stroes, which is JOOPSTROES.
Perfect.
And I have my YouTube channel. It's also called Empathy Plus.
All right. So we find you on Empathy Plus on the platforms. On LinkedIn, we find you as Joop Stroes. And so people,
Yes.
I recommend that, connecting with Joop because of and all the wonderful things that he's doing. And there you are, very far across the pond from here. And so I applaud you for everything that you do.
Thank you very much, Warren. It was a pleasure to be your guest.
Thank you. So there you have it, folks. It was a great time here again. This is Warren Berry flocking off to take you beyond the pond, to better the pond, because we're better together. Thank you ever so much, Joop.
Thank you.